Well, as arrivals go, I would have to say that this was really one of the smoother, cleaner arrivals of any airport.
Xi'an was the capital city of China during its two golden ages, the Han Dynasty and the Tang Dynasty. Then one of the largest and wealthiest cities in the world, it served as a meeting place of merchants from east and west. It is now a transportation hub, a gateway to the west, as well as a center of manufacturing, logistics, and energy, known as a cultural center, home of the world-famous Terracotta Warriors. As I came in from the airport, I passed through miles of industrial complexes and virtual forests of apartments, most with that symmetrical architectural style seen in so many major Chinese cities. Built for efficiency and to accommodate many people, not so much for each unit to appear distinctive and individual.
And here's the bell tower. That's the stop I said I would get off at and walk what's actually 4 miles to my hotel. Yet today I'm going to go toward the center of town. My plan is to walk. Maybe we just start walking and head towards the what I think is the giant pagoda in the back. This is one of the things that I find absolutely fascinating about China. The juxtaposition. Here is an ancient scholar, and if you follow right behind him in front of this modern, there's a robot with a machine gun. I think this must be that goldfish have a special meaning as a pet. I've never seen so many goldfish. And here I'm basically just walking down a pretty typical large shopping street here in Xi'an. This is obviously not a touristy place. This is a museum I'd never heard of, the Mass Art Museum. I walked in, there was nobody stopping me, nobody even at the door. And it's called the Museum of Intangible Arts, which I think means performances and the photography of them. These are dances and operas and outdoor concerts. And this is the opera stage from an outdoor perspective. You can actually see from the way this lady's able to bend her legs. Is I think a Chinese martial arts background, but it's children. It's all children, children's rehearsals. So this is one of the things that I wanted to see here. I know it is not traditional like the bell tower, but after all, the Silk Road was the center of and the beginning of commerce and trade over many, many centuries. This is a pedestrian walking street. This is actually, as much as we're going to find, a center of a certain kind of commercial retail sale here. I mean, this is basically what the Silk Road was about. Here you have things from all over the world which have been brought here to be sold. So here we are. Really, this is the modern Silk Road. I am now on the beginning of the modern Silk Road.
And here is the inside version of the same.
Well, I'm on a mission to get a Chinese phone number, and my current phone is running out of batteries, and I neglected to bring my charging unit. When all else fails, thank God for Apple. Finding a China Mobile shop to buy a SIM card is turning out to be a near impossibility. I'm thinking that maybe in these tiny little warrens, none of the navigation systems actually work. Well, the process of getting a phone is taking considerably longer than I thought. I believe I've been here for 2 hours. They are trying to check my passport. I'm beginning to wonder if this might be in the not so worth it category. So the process of getting a phone took 2.5 hours. I don't really understand why. It was a good experience to know where the limits are. Well, I'm at the Xi'an Museum.
The Xi'an Museum, in addition to artworks, goes through a very systematic depiction of the history of Xi'an in each of the dynasties, showing how its central position affected trade across the whole of China in each of the dynasties. There were many, many school children and many, many classes basically going through the exhibit and learning about the history of their city. Its role on the Silk Road was depicted in a wall-sized mural of each of the cities of the Silk Road. The central bell tower area, a center of several converging streets, really comes alive at night and is lit up in beautiful gold and red and yellow, which are colors that are seen in many of the night markets, as we will see it.
This is the street leading down to my hotel, lit up at night. It's really quite beautiful. One thing you have to learn quite quickly is that motorcycles drive down actual sidewalks with impunity, and if you aren't careful, you can be hit.
The world-famous Terracotta Warrior exhibit is actually called the Emperor Qin Wang Mausoleum. It's built on the burial grounds of the first emperor of the Qin dynasty, which means Qin Shi Huang, and he was the first emperor to unify all of China in about 221 BC.
We are sure the emperor came here many times. Qin Shi Huang came here many times.
Believing in immortality and wishing to protect his eternal rule, the emperor had 700,000 workers build 8,000 full-sized warriors, each of which was with a real weapon.
Amazing in Chinese, 惊奇. Yeah, 迷人, amazing.
They were modeled after actual real soldiers, and that's one of the reasons they each look so distinctive and so realistic. The massive collection of warriors was actually accidentally discovered by farmers in the 1970s, and since then, and even now, continues to undergo extensive excavation and research. It's one of the most frequently visited areas in Xi'an and actually in China.
我觉得如果更多的美国人学习中文和到中国来，我们希望从中国人学习你的文化。
上半身的甲片，上半身下片，下半身。
The soldiers were originally in full color, which has for the most part faded over the centuries, but is sometimes found in those soldiers who were actually buried and kept away from the air. You can see the colors, and you can see artists' renditions of what the Terracotta Warrior Army really looked like. Active work and research continues to this day.
So the city wall is very interesting, and in a way it would be wonderful to be able to walk all the way around it if you were feeling fit enough to do it and had enough time. The Great Goose Pagoda. I guess I'm at the end of the line, even though I have a reservation.
One of the things I find most fascinating about the museums is the intensity, almost a thirst or a hunger, which people have for knowing their history, the long history of China. The fact that each city is part of the Silk Road is very, very much part of the forefront, and every museum had kind of a map against a full-sized wall like this, where it showed each of the areas and each of the cities and told the whole history. There's a passion to know and tell this history.
相继着安西都护府和北平都护府，帝国的疆土越过天山，直达葱岭以西。史书记载，以武之右，波斯9万家，不少胡人不仅长期居住在长安，还在长安宫职。
You see many young women dressed in traditional clothing walking up and down the street. At first I thought it was in celebration of a holiday or perhaps as a photo opportunity. I approached two women and said, "Well, why do you dress like this?" And they looked at me and said, disbelieving, "Because we think it's good looking." Pedestrian walking streets come alive at night in China. Especially with the gold, yellow, and red coloring, they seem to take a life of their own. Food of all sorts is on the streets. And there are performances, basically historical performances, dance performances. Several of them are of the walking streets. Outsized and intricate statues and sculptures are placed in many places, demonstrating personages and events in Chinese history. Sometimes, as we saw earlier with the wise scholar and the machine gun robot, there can be a mixture, an interposition of the ancient and the modern.
亲爱的朋友，本场演出到此结束。感
Speaking of the interposition of the traditional and the modern, you step off the walking street with all of its demonstrations of traditional dances into a huge Hasselblad store, which is really not selling cameras anymore, but very high-end drones.